Welcome to the Bond Life podcast, where fitness, mindset, and real talk collide. This isn't just about workouts. It's about transforming your body, mind, and life. Get ready for unfiltered conversations, expert advice, and the motivation you need to level up in every way. I love you already. I'm super excited for this conversation. I love talking about sex on this podcast. Today we have Xanet Pailet on. Welcome to the show, Xanet.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm happy to be here.
Am I saying it right? Am I saying Xanet
You
right?
totally said my name right. And can I just
Yes.
say that you told me, God, I want your people to know this. You told me that you're starting a new recording studio. And what I just said to you is I'm really excited to pop your cherry around this.
It's like,
I'm just come on. I mean, we're talking about sex, so.
I just, you guys, I knew I loved her from the moment I met her because of that one statement. It was great. It was so great. Yeah, we're switching, you guys. We're switching platforms again, and my cherry pop today. I love it. I love it. Oh, Janae, I can already tell this is going to be such a good conversation. When I saw you come across, because getting pitches and people to come on the show, I was like, yes, please. When can we get her on? Because this is amazing. I love talking about sex.
Me
I
too.
love that it makes people squirm. You're same, same page. I love, and that's not what I do. I mean, I do sex, but that's not my profession. But I love the connection between someone's health and fitness journey and how
Mhm.
important intimacy, their relationship, all of that's connected.
Totally. Absolutely. That's actually sexual health and wellness and health and exercise. Those are integrally related for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
100%.
Okay, so health and fitness with your sex life. I don't know, and I can't say this enough, how important it is for everything to flow. If you're killing it in the gym and you're crushing it and stuff, but you go home and you feel like you're being rejected, or you don't want to have sex with your partner, or there's tension there, you just have a roommate, that's a problem. And that will halt you in the gym too.
Mm-hmm. I could totally see that. So I've often recommended that people take kickboxing lessons or, start working out to really get back into their body, right? Because that's one of the ways in which you can start to reconnect with yourself and feel good and feel sexy and feel strong, all of which is important for you
Mm-hmm.
to get that desire back as well.
Yeah, well, and chemically, the hormones that a woman produces, and it keeps our testosterone, we don't have much, but it keeps it high and healthy. And yeah, all of that's connected. You had sent me in I guess kind of a little bio. It's just a little description of you. I've got to read this because I read it and it I don't know, I could relate. I left a 17-year marriage. I'm divorced. And so when I was just kind of reading yours, I was like, oh, that speaks to me. I'm going to read it real quick. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll ask questions and stuff. But I want our listeners to hear this because it's written very well and it's short. It's not long. You said, I spent 26 years in a sexless marriage and learned why desire doesn't disappear. It goes underground. For decades, my life looked successful from the outside. I was married, raising children, building a career, and doing everything right. Yet behind closed doors, intimacy slowly faded. We weren't fighting. We weren't dramatic. We were disconnected. And by the time our children left home, there was nothing left to bridge the gap. Leaving that marriage at 50 meant 50. Oh, leaving that marriage at 50 meant dismantling everything I believed about love, safety, and myself. Before becoming a sex and intimacy coach, I was a healthcare attorney, high achieving, analytical, and deeply disconnected from my body. My personal wrecking forced me to confront what most couples never named. Desire doesn't die because of age, hormones, or time. Oh, it disappears when emotional safety erodes, communication shuts down, and the body stops feeling invited into the relationship. And today you help couples and individuals rebuild intimacy from the inside out, emotionally, physically, and erotically without shame or pressure. Janae, oh my God, so many things in this. And I know people that are listening right now that are in relationships that just aren't thriving in this area, and they've just accepted
Mhm,
second best.
mhm,
Like, this is just
mhm.
the way it is. And I've
Yeah,
heard one woman ask, this was like, I don't know, like a coaching call or something, or I don't know, could have been one of my friends, but I'll never forget it. I don't even know where it came from. And they've been married years, probably 20 plus, adult children, and they weren't having sex. And she asked him, and she wanted to, she was open to it, like whatever, but they hadn't been having sex in forever. And she said, "Well, what do you think? Is this normal?" And his response was, "Well, you know, I don't know. I've asked other people, and I think this is just normal. As you get older, like couples you just don't really have sex anymore. It's just not a thing." And they were
um,
both completely fine with that answer.
yeah,
I'm sorry, what? Please tell me
yeah.
that's not normal.
I mean, statistically, Melissa, you know,
Right.
15 to 20% of couples are in a sexless marriage. So that's a pretty high percentage,
It's a high number.
particularly in long term relationships like 15, 20 plus years, right? So I think that is not uncommon for people to be in that place. They don't have to be in that place, but I think for many people, it's like, I don't know how to get out of this place, right? It's too uncomfortable. It's too confronting. It's too scary, right? And so many people like just want to avoid the conversation for so many different reasons because they feel shame about it. They feel guilt about it. I always say to people, like, if you're really both okay, like, if you're really truly both okay not having sex, that's fine. You get to make that choice, right? Right? But often that's just not the case. Often there's one person that actually wants sex, person with the higher desire, the lower desire, not so much. I knew I wanted to date again, but I didn't know how to address the fact that I hated having sex.
It's kind of a problem going into the
Kind of
dating
a
world.
problem when you're 50 years old and you want to date. So it forced me to really like take a look at this issue. And this is a long story. I write about it in my first book, Living an Orgasmic Life. But you know, tantra and sacred sexuality became the doorway for me, and it was just like
Really?
coincidental that that I was dating somebody in New York. I'd started dating somebody in New York who had just gone to a tantra workshop. And he knew that sex was difficult for me. And he offered like a night of goddess worship. That's actually how my first book starts,
I
which was
want a night of
amazing.
goddess
Goddess
worship.
worship, right. It ended up being amazing because it was a completely different experience for me around
I
sexuality than
bet.
I'd ever had before. And that was like the very beginning of like, oh, maybe I'm not broken. Maybe there's hope for me yet. And that from there, I just took a really deep dive into like initially Tantra. And then I left New York, moved to California. And then I just like expanded and did all of these different training programs
Mhm.
for me,
Mhm.
because I needed to work on my own sexuality. I needed to heal my own traumas.
Right.
But ultimately, it led me after a year or two to realize like, I didn't really want to do this like other stuff I was doing anymore. I wasn't really loving it. And that I felt like, oh, like maybe this is what I was put on this earth to do. Like
I
I'm
love
supposed to do
that.
this.
Yeah.
And so like I come from it, you know, I come from it from a like a wounded healer, which so many people do in the therapy world. And that was like that's how it happened.
I fully stand behind that because I know, like, where I come from as a coach and a trainer and things that I do, it's because I have grown and healed from so much in my life and where I've come from, and that gives me the knowledge and the space and the empathy and the
Right.
understanding, you
Absolutely.
can relate to all of that,
Yeah.
to be able to
Totally.
hold space for our clients and be like, "Oh, no, I get it." And you can't bullshit a bullshitter.
No,
Like,
no, that's true.
people can't lie to us because 'cause we're like, like, "We know. We've are you sure? Because 'Cause we've been there."
Yes, for
Well,
sure.
I
Yes.
love your story, and, you guys, I have to say it, I know I say it in the intro, and you guys will have everything in the show notes and stuff too, but the name of her book, and you're a best-selling author of Living an Orgasmic Life and the Sex and Intimacy Repair Kit are both out right now?
Yeah,
Okay,
so Living Your Orgasmic Life's been out since 2018, and the Sex and Intimacy Repair Kit was just published a month ago. So it's a brand new, brand new book, and it's really focused on couples who are having challenges
okay,
around sexuality and sexless marriages. That's really what that focus is for that. For
okay,
that.
okay. What's the focus for Living an Orgasmic Life?
The focus for Living an Orgasmic Life is more about my own. Part of it is my own story of how excuse me, I went from being, like, sexually shut down and traumatized to my own sexual awakening and healing journey, with client anecdotes along the way. So, like, the first half of the book is all the things that block you from having sexual pleasure,
Okay,
and the second part of the book is these are the ways that you can start to feel pleasure in your body and start to heal.
okay. I gotta talk about, like, emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy with you because this is a big topic, and I have other questions too that I wanna share with you that
Mhm.
I've gotten from clients and people that wrote in and things like that, and just talking about this, I think will answer a lot of the questions too, because I don't know if people put together, and this goes for men and women, like, men, listen up, you really need to know this, and women, you need to understand this, how much that emotional intimacy and, like, a woman feeling safe directly impacts her being, like, the sex kid and you want her to be in bed, you know?
My God, that's so true. That's why I'm gonna do a little show and tell.
Alright.
That's why this book was written, right? Because what I've realized in working with so many couples. I've been doing this work for 15 years, and I've facilitated over like 120 couples retreats, individual retreats in Asheville, like one-on-one with a couple over a 5-day period, plus group retreats. What I've learned, and also in my own personal journey around intimacy, which is different than
Mhm.
sex.
Right?
It was easy to heal the sex, but easier to heal the sex part for me than it was to actually heal the intimacy piece because I
Mm.
was so shut down, and emotionally constipated around it. But what I've learned through lived experience and my work with couples is that you can't get to sex until you actually feel very solid in the emotional safety with your partner. That is a precursor to be able to open yourself up to really sexuality because it's almost like a nervous system regulation issue. Like the nervous system, our nervous system is very protective of us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when we don't feel safe, it shuts us down. It shuts down our desire, right? It shuts down, our everything. And so, what I know from lived experience and from all the work I've done is that when I work with couples on my retreats, let me say that my process is a very immersive experiential process because my philosophy around sexuality and intimacy is that you can't talk your way into better sex and better intimacy.
Mhm.
You have to feel your way into it. You have to have a lived experience in your body. And that is my background. It's a very somatic experiential way, right? But when I start with the emotional safety and the emotional connection and letting people start to remember that this is somebody I can actually be honest with
Mhm.
and create the container when that happens, everything settles down, right? And then we can start looking at sexuality. But that is primary. And one of the things that makes it really challenging is the differences in the genders, generally speaking, because for most women, we can't be sexually open, or as you said, I can't be your sex kitten until I feel emotionally connected and safe.
Mhm.
And for many men, that emotional connection and safety occurs after sex.
Mm.
So there's this big disconnect with men, and again, I don't like to overgeneralize this, but that is the experience that I've had, and I think it's pretty well known that a lot of men go to sex
Mhm.
for that emotional connection and intimacy.
Yes.
And so you can see where we're just like butting heads with each other,
Yeah.
right?
And people don't
That
know this, like
they don't understand that, right?
yeah, and it makes so much
And
sense.
it does, and unfortunately for men, and I tell my guys this all the time, like, the women hold the cards. They just do,
It yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, because of that, we have to figure out a way where you both feel safe finding that emotional connection, and that's something that everybody wants,
Sure.
right? Like, it's a basic human need of feeling safe,
Mhm.
right? Not just physical safety, but emotional safety. But I think a lot of men have a harder time understanding it and expressing it. And sex becomes the one way that they can get there.
Yeah, because 'cause they're like, "Let's just do it because then you're gonna feel good and I'm gonna feel good and we're gonna have that connection." And the woman's like,
Right.
"I need this before we get
Right.
there." And, I think a lot of men don't understand either because I've heard this come out of guys' mouth and, it's so interesting because they're like, "What do you mean she doesn't feel safe? Like, I protect her. You have a house, you have a car, you have money to spend, everything. Like, what more do you want? How could you not feel safe?" I've heard those words
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yes.
and it makes
Yes. It's very
yeah,
confusing
and
for
then as a
them.
woman, you feel
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, am I ungrateful? Like, what is wrong with me? I should just be happy and
Yeah.
should just lay down for him." Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
and they don't understand that the safety is, like, you being the rock, you being emotionally stable, so when I fall apart because I'm about to start my period or something, you have that space to, like, hold us and
Yeah, but also there's the opposite side to it as well, right?
tell me.
Because like I have this t-shirt, it says vulnerability is sexy. It's actually a chapter in
Yes.
my new book, right?
Yes.
The emotional safety happens. Yes, we want somebody to be able to hold us, but what is vulnerability, right?
Mm.
Vulnerability is, being able to show that you're human, right? And letting your partner show you that they're human, which makes us feel less ashamed of our humanness,
Yes.
right? We need to both be able to be like, yeah, here I am. I'm showing up this way, but underneath it, I have all of these fears and all of this stuff that I'm bringing into this relationship and my childhood wounds. And I'm scared that you might leave me because you're rejecting me, right? Like, that's the part that needs to get exposed because then it's like, "Oh, okay. Now I can trust you."
Mhm.
Not that it's true, right? And I have the same issue, right? It's not like I don't think you're gonna hurt me, that there's no physical safety issue. I have that house, I have everything I need, but I need to feel like I can trust your heart,
Yeah.
right? And that you can see me for who I am,
Mhm.
and most importantly, because I hear this all the time, you let me in, right? You let me in to see you for who
Yes.
you are. You show me that other side of you, which we all have. Sometimes I have to dig to get it out of people, both women and
I was
men,
gonna say more
because,
men or both?
it varies, situationally. Who's more avoidant in the relationship is usually the person that's more scared to be vulnerable and open up.
Mhm. Yeah, and I see a lot of men too because 'cause I'm talking about, like, be the rock, don't be like an emotional bitch. Like,
Mhm.
don't, like, have a bad day and then come home and yell at me and take it out on everyone and then just ignore me and ignore everyone else, and then we have to walk around on eggshells because we don't know what kind of mood dad is in,
Right.
that. But then also, like you said, being vulnerable, coming home and, like, talking and sharing and letting me in and making me feel like a partner, and so you're not carrying that all alone. That's oh my god, all
Because that's what creates the distance, right?
yeah.
Like, that's actually what creates the distance in the relationship, of feeling like we're really not on the same wavelength. We're really not connecting. Like I'm feeling kind of lonely, even though you're living with me and sleeping in my bed and we're doing stuff together,
Right.
especially if you have children. But I actually feel lonely.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to address first to help really allow sexuality to come back online if
Mhm.
it's offline.
Yeah. I got this question, I got this question before, on another episode that we've done, on sex and intimacy, and I love hearing different responses from different professionals
Mm,
and coaches and therapists and stuff, and it's the one about, like, libido, and what do
mm,
you do when how do you navigate that when one person wants it more and the other person
mhm,
doesn't?
mhm.
And we see it both ways, and I see it more on the woman's side only because I work with more women typically, and they're, like, getting in shape and feeling good and losing weight, and they're like, "Hey," and he's not yet, and he's like, "I'm tired, I worked all day," and, like, there's a lot of excuses, but I know in the world, if you look out in society, it looks more like men want it and women don't, and they're shutting the man down.
It's about 50. Honestly, I think it's about 50-50.
I would
I
believe that.
think yeah, I
Mhm.
think it really does vary from person to person and relationship to relationship. So the high libido, low libido piece, right, has there's no one answer to it. It's always layered and complicated, right? Like,
Yeah.
and again, for me, as somebody who looks at the emotional safety, the emotional foundation as the foundation of a sexual relationship, the first thing I'm looking at is like, what's going on in the relationship,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And very often there is something going on in
Yes.
the relationship with the lower libido partner who is feeling been rejected a lot or criticized a lot, or there's been resentment that's never been expressed, right? All of which like shuts down your libido. So that's the first thing I always, would want to look at. And
Or can I just interject there for a second?
yeah,
Could it
yeah.
be too that he's just not that into her, and so it looks like low libido, or maybe he's
I mean,
having an
it
affair
could. I mean,
and
those
she
are, yeah, that's what I
thinks,
said.
"Oh."
Those are all that's all showed up. Those are all
But
possibilities.
again, to your point, that it's all relationship. Look at the
It
that
is.
would be a root of the
Yeah.
relationship, yeah.
That would be a root of, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm having an affair because my emotional needs aren't getting met. My sexual needs aren't getting met, right? Like, well, what happened in this relationship 2 years ago where things started falling apart, where somebody didn't feel safe to express what was going on, where you started feeling lonely and distant in this
Yep.
marriage, right? So, yeah, so like I said, it could be a lot of different reasons. Clearly, also, maybe this doesn't pertain as much to the clients that you're talking about, but certainly as women age, our desire shifts from spontaneous
Yeah.
desire to more responsive desire,
Yep.
right? Which is kind of like the Nike just do it. But it's true, right? Like, as our hormones drop and our testosterone estrogen levels drop, like we think less about sex very often. It's not so spontaneous, but if we start getting turned on or touched in the way we like to be touched, or something partner comes and whispers in your ear, right? Your body starts to begin to respond. And that's what we
Interesting.
call, responsive desire. That's huge, especially as women are going through aging, going through menopause,
Mhm.
etc. So it could be like so many different possibilities why there is mismatched desire. Another big piece, which most people don't talk about, is something called core desires. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Core desires?
No.
So, core desires are the emotions that you want to have during sex, not what's happening, not
Hmm.
like I want to have an orgasm, but how you want to feel emotionally. And they really relate back to, believe it or not, soothing your childhood wounds. So it's very interesting. Let me give you an example of this because this really helps unlock it for many, many people.
Okay.
So let's say that you're somebody who, really wants to be taken, like you're a high achieving woman, right? You're the CEO of your company, managing all the shit, you're doing all the things, you're totally responsible, like the buck stops with you. Exhausting, right?
Yeah.
But what you really want in the bedroom is to be taken,
I feel
right?
like you're speaking to me.
You want to be ravished, right? Maybe you want to be like,
Mhm.
bound so that you're like totally in a submissive space
Mhm.
so that you don't have to do anything, that you don't have to take control anymore. But what your partner offers you is what they think that they should offer you, which is like nice, sweet, like making love, right?
Mm.
That's not a turn on, right? That need, that desire, that core desire isn't being met. And often that core desire goes back to like a childhood wound. So, for example, you were a child who, at a very early age, had to take care of yourself or take care of other people in the family and had to be responsible, right? So often that's where, not often, it always shows up back that way. Um, that's a huge reason why low libido partners are low libido because
Interesting.
they don't even know what they want to feel emotionally, and they're not getting it.
Interesting. God, it's so fascinating to me, like, how deep this stuff really goes, and, like, you're
Mhm.
gonna miss it. You're gonna completely miss it if you don't have these conversations and really figure out who you are and what you want, you know?
Right,
And then that
right.
doesn't even bring into, like, the programming that we get as kids. Like, there's
Yeah.
probably women that were, like, kinda squirming in their seat and got uncomfortable when you talked about being bound, or, like,
Mhm.
being, like, dominated in the bedroom, like, "Oh my god, don't talk about that." Like, "What?" Like, "That's, like, book fantasy stuff," and it's like,
Yeah, but how many women are reading romantasy
"I
books?
know."
It's like it's the largest genre in the book world right now,
Right?
so
For a reason, yeah, but it
yeah.
just goes to show, like, how important it is to just be honest with yourself and, like, have these conversations and not
Yeah,
be
and explore
afraid.
it.
Yeah, and to explore it,
Right,
just not be afraid.
right,
Like, both of us can probably sit there and just be like, "Man, my life and my world would be so different if we didn't take control at a later stage in life and be like, 'I'm not gonna accept this anymore.'"
right, right,
Like, yeah, the future's scary, totally unknown, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I don't know, but, like, it's gotta be better than where I'm at right now. There's gotta be more to life, this one life that we get, than just experiencing this and just being okay with this or
yeah, yeah.
completely not even
That was my word. That was my mantra. Like my question that I asked myself was, "Is this all that life is? Is this all that life is at 49?" And I was like, "Yeah, it can't be.
it
It's
can't
got to
be,
be better than this.
right?
There's got to be more.
Right?
I've had a really great life, and there's got to be more here."
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's something that people are doing in their relationships right now, like, they think it's helping that it's actually, like, really destroying the relationship? Can you think
That's a
of
great
anything that you
question.
see right now, like a common thread or that you've seen often or
I see a lot of common threads, what they think is helping. Oh, so I think one of the things that I think people think are helping is that when they get into conflict with their partner, one of two things happen. Either one of them tries to fix it right away, like immediately tries to fix it, which doesn't help. It actually makes it worse. Or most frequently, they just like, yeah, and they shove it under the rug and nobody ends up talking about it, but a resentment starts building up. And then that same pattern shows up again and
Mhm.
again and again. And I think people think that like, oh, I'm totally fine. Yeah, I'm not really upset when they really are.
Yeah,
And they're afraid to confront their partner because, we don't want to cause pain to each other,
right.
but we are meant to cause pain to each other because that's what happens in a romantic relationship,
It's gonna happen.
right? It's like the question is like, how do you deal with that?
Mhm.
And if you avoid it, you're going to end up building up a lot of resentment and then something's going to blow up. It's going to affect your sex life without doubt and other parts of your relationship.
Yeah.
And if you try to fix it in the moment, for most people, not going to get fixed, right? It's because when you're triggered and your partner is triggered, there is no adult in the room. There are only two very wounded little children. We know, we've seen them on a playground. They don't know how to repair a conflict. So that's a problem. And I always tell people, like, and it's usually like an attachment issue. The person who's more anxious will try to fix the relationship, or that's what they feel.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I can fix this. I'm going to fix this.
Mhm.
And it doesn't fix it.
No.
It just makes it worse. It creates more and more and more disconnection
Yeah,
and
yeah, well,
conflict.
speaking as a person that's more like anxious attachment, that's me, and I'm like, I don't wanna have the discomfort. I don't want to, I don't like it to be uncomfortable, like, "We need to fix this. I need to know everything is okay. I need to know that you love
Right?
me."
Yes,
Like,
yes. Thank you. That is pure anxious attachment
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, like, "Girl, hey, that's my middle name, Melissa Anxious Attachment," and I never knew that. I didn't know any
Mhm.
of this when I was married.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
Me
know
neither.
any of this, and I'm okay with it, like, I know it now, so now I know I can go, "Okay, breathe, pause, think about this. What age, Melissa, are you right now?
Mhm.
Is this scared little, like, 8-year-old you?
Right.
Because this is an adult badass boss Melissa right now."
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, so
And take a break, right? Like,
yes,
you gotta come down. Repairing conflict is critical, but you've gotta come down. You've gotta both be down off your triggers, so that you can actually have an adult
right,
conversation to be able to repair,
right.
which is super important.
Okay, tell me about these retreats because I am sure do you have another one coming up soon? Like, how often do they
Well,
happen?
so I offer private retreats in Asheville. So I live in Asheville, North Carolina,
Okay,
and I offer private retreats with couples. So it's one couple at a time
okay,
and me over a generally 4, sometimes 5-day period of time where we do something like somewhere between 13 and 16 hours of one-on-one coaching in like 3-hour blocks.
okay,
And they're incredibly effective. Like, I have a lot of couples come to me in sexless marriages. Sometimes they're on the verge of separation. Sometimes it's affair recovery. Occasionally, it's like, we just want to have better sex, which is great,
mhm,
but that's not necessarily the norm. And we do a really deep dive on their specific issues. It's completely personalized to what's going on in their relationship, right? So no retreat is similar. They may have similar elements to it, but no retreat is similar. And one of the reasons are like I have close to a 90% success rate on couples leaving and feeling more connected 30 days later, 60 days later, 90 days later. Like, there's a lot of major shifts that actually happen.
mhm,
And I think part of that reason is A, because they're immersive. So it's not talk therapy. Remember my philosophy, you can't talk your way into better sex. You've got to feel your way into it, right? So it's not talk therapy. It's actually an immersive, even when we're doing intimacy work, we're doing exercises. I'm asking them, what are you noticing in your body when you look in your partner's eyes? Very powerful practice. What emotions are showing up, right? So it's a very immersive experiential space. And because we're all in this very safe container together,
mhm,
when their stuff comes up, and it does, right? We're able to deal with it and process it and examine it in real time.
mhm,
And that's a very different experience that most couples have from therapy when they have an hour typically, right? And they're just coming and dealing with the shit that happened last week, but they don't get to
yep,
really go into the patterns. But here, it's like, I'll give you some practices, and you go back to the very sexy Airbnb that we have with a hot tub and a sex chair and a swing and games. It's lovely, right? A big master
I love it.
bed, king size bed. And then when you come back the next day and I'm like, "So how did that go?" And you were like, "Wow, like it didn't go well. This is what happened." It's like, "Great." Then we get to like
Yep.
understand, "Oh, look what happened. Like you went too quickly and she shut down." Right? What if we try it this way instead? So it's a very hands-on process where we can identify the patterns in real time and then begin to shift them.
Oh my god, I love that because yeah, you get to see, like, what worked. Okay, great, that didn't work. Not, "We'll see you next week and we'll talk about it." I hope you
Exactly.
can remember,
Right, right,
you know?
right, right. Before all the other
Yeah,
stuff that shows up.
life is happening
Yeah,
around you, but,
yeah,
write that down in a journal and bring it with you. Well,
exactly,
that's what we have to
exactly.
try and do.
I know. And then I do once a year hold a group retreat in Costa Rica, a group couples retreat. So I usually have somewhere from 8 to 10 couples in this just beautiful, luxurious 5-star setting in the middle of the jungle on the beach, where it's also very immersive, experiencing, and we're accessing nature. Like we go to this gorgeous river and we put blue clay all over ourselves and we do a ritual of like getting rid of some of the resentments and things that have been, stuck between us. Those kind of things, cacao ceremonies, right? And also like really taking deep dives into emotional, experiential connections and physical as well.
Oh,
It's a beautiful
send me
experience.
an
So
invite.
I will.
I would totally go. I would
All
totally
right.
get my partner to go and be a
Awesome.
part of that. That it just sounds incredible, in what you're doing, and, both retreats, I gotta believe that part of it is why it's so successful and it works is because, like, they're leaving with tools to
Right.
learn, not a Band-Aid, but tools to learn to keep this going after.
Right, and that's part of why I wrote the book, The Sex and Intimacy Repair Kit. It's chock full of
Mm.
tools of, different practices, same other book too, like different practices. And that's the coaching model, right? Like the coaching model is I'm going to give you tools. I'm going to help you figure your stuff out. And hopefully you can just go home. You won't need me 6 months from now,
Right.
right? Like you have the
Yep.
tools and that is important. Like everybody needs to understand that, right? It took me a long time to understand it, Melissa, that like, both intimacy and sex are things that you can learn how to do. Right? It's not like one person is, more inclined to know how to be
Right.
emotionally open and intimate. Those are all experiences that you can learn, all of it.
I love that, and that just gives us such hope too, like, you're
Right.
not a lost cause, this can be learned, and
Totally.
we're not taught this. Is there any, I don't know, something that you can share, like a practice or like a ritual that
Yeah.
you teach that, like, you could give us before we have to say goodbye that, like, listeners can try and do with their partner today?
Yeah. So I think one of my favorite, and it's really like paradigm shifting practice that
Okay.
I teach people is how to touch. And what I mean by how to touch is that most of the time when we're touching our partner, we're touching them in a way that we think they want to be touched, right? What we're skipping out on is touching them in a way that feels good to us. So that shifts things so quickly because, first of all, if I'm touching you in a way that I think feels good to me, and I'm focused on the sensation in my hand when I'm touching you,
Mhm.
right? I'm much more present with my touch, which feels way better for the person being touched because we all know how annoying it is when we have somebody touching us in a way that doesn't feel good, but we can't really explain to them what doesn't feel good.
Right.
And right. And a lot of times it's just that their touch isn't very present. They're just performing and their attention is on you rather than their attention being on their own
Makes
sensation.
sense.
Right. And that really shifts things for people in so many different ways. Like, thinking about like even oral sex for a lot of women have issues around like, well, what if you think about it as like, how do I make my mouth feel good? How do I make my cheeks feel good? How do I make, my tongue feel good? Right? As opposed to I am performing something to get
Yes.
you off.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess I've never looked at it like that. And the whole time you were talking, I'm thinking of like a hug or hand holding or just, hands on body. I wasn't thinking oral. So I'm so glad you brought that up. It's like that is
Hmm.
helpful because a lot of women do struggle with that. And then like a lot of men
Yeah.
want that. And
Yeah.
I think the whole role could be reversed too, is a guy going down on a girl,
Totally. Same
and
same thing, right? Like, can you stop focusing so much on the outcome and more focus on like your experience
Mhm.
around it, right? Because we sense in our bodies when somebody's performing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When they're not like really in their body and they're not, doing it,
Mhm.
right?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, last question for you because I know I've kept you on for a long time now.
It's all good.
How can people really know the difference between like a normal dry season, like this is just normal, right?
Yeah.
And one where a relationship is like actually in trouble? I think
Yeah,
that'd
it's a
be a
great
good thing to end on and letting our listeners know like, hey, this is how
yeah.
you can tell. Can you tell? Is there a way to tell?
Yes, you can if
Okay.
you have a lot of self-awareness. So let's normalize it. Everybody goes through spells, right? Maybe because you're super stressed out, you're super busy, there's hormonal changes, there's medical stuff, like we go through spells,
Mhm.
right? That's normal. How long that spell lasts would be one factor that I would consider. Like, oh, this has been going on for 9 months, that's maybe something to take a look at versus this has been going on for 4 months or 5 months,
Mhm.
right? And there's a reason that there's something going on around it. Second, like, are we communicating about this?
Mm.
Is this a conversation that we're having? Like, hey, baby, like, I'm super stressed out. I just got this new job. I really don't have any libido, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, is there conversation around it, which is like, that's safety. That's like, okay, we're good. We're in it together. Are we able to communicate what our needs are? Versus when we're in trouble, for me, it's like we're in trouble when we're not talking about it. We're in trouble when there's no connection between the two of us. We're in trouble when we start feeling lonely. I think that's a very big
Mm.
factor. If you start to feel lonely in
Yes.
that relationship, you are in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't come back from it. You absolutely can, but that's a huge signal that like things are not
I
okay.
think that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Janae, I feel like we could talk for hours on this. Like, we might have to have you back again because there's so many
I'm happy to
questions,
come back.
like, we didn't even get to, so many things, but I'm just gonna encourage everyone right now to get your book, Living an Orgasmic Life and the Sex and
Sexy.
Intimacy Repair Kit. We'll put
And to
all
come to my retreats.
and go yes, and go to the retreats, 100%. We'll put all the links that we have and everything into the show notes, but tell us, where can people find you? Where can they go to look at the retreat information and contact
Yeah.
you? And
You can go to my website, which is passionateintimacyretreats.com,
okay,
passionateintimacyretreats.com.
perfect. Like, we cannot have enough conversations around this. And
I agree.
to like get
Thank you for having these
yeah.
conversations and bringing people in to have these conversations
Yeah.
because we need to continue to like spread the word.
Yeah. Well, people deserve it, and like
Yeah,
think of how much better the world will be if people are, like fully feeling their relationship intimacy. Everyone's having the amount of sex that they should be having, orgasms. It's good
absolutely.
for the
Very
environment,
important.
people. Have sex. It's good for the environment. But this is great. We definitely have to connect again. Thank you for coming on. You're a true blessing to the show, and we'll make sure we put everything in the show notes so people can find you and link to you, and we'll definitely be in touch. So thank you.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
Everyone, stay safe, stay healthy. Until next time. The Bottom Life podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content shared here is not intended as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any health, fitness, financial, or legal decisions. The opinions shared on this podcast are personal experiences and insight. So if you need expert guidance, go find the right professional for you. Thanks for listening.